That's really up close. Okay. We zoom out. Oh, we're not zooming out. Okay. Welcome to Coffee and Resales. And Streamlabs was being difficult this morning. So we are trying something new. Okay. Wow. Good morning out there. And it looks like I'm doing this straight onto YouTube right now rather than going through Streamlabs because Streamlabs is being finicky. And Streamlabs wasn't working, but YouTube is now working better than it used to because it used to do, the camera used to do weird things with the visuals, and now it's not. So we are going to do this kind of the way I always wanted. I always wanted to do it straight on YouTube because it was easier. And then have to mess with stuff. And we're going to try this today, and we'll see how it goes. So, anyway. Good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Resales. I'm trying. I get stuff from yard sales, garage sales, thrift stores, similar venues. Try to make a few extra bucks online. We're going to change it a little bit so you can see my hat better. And a lot of what I do is selling books and toys and various other things. So this morning I have it was a decent sales weekend. It wasn't awesome by any means. I didn't sell any super high dollar item, but I also sold a handful of stuff and it's gotten out the door. So I can almost grab any one thing. There's almost no ranking here this morning, but yeah, nothing over 20 bucks, but nothing under 10. One thing's going to wind up being under 10, but I'll explain that later. First up, clothes. And this is something that you need to be on the lookout for over the next year. This is a John Cena t-shirt. You need to go get John Cena stuff, particularly t-shirts and that sort of thing, because John Cena's retired. I'm not going to go out and say John Cena's greatest of all time, because I don't know that you can necessarily call any single professional wrestler the greatest of all time. It's more of a list than a single individual. But John Cena is one of the greatest of all time, and he's retiring probably around this time next year. And so his stuff is going to go pretty quickly. That went for 11 bucks, and I'm a little surprised it waited this long to sell. I've actually had it for maybe a year, and I was a little surprised. I got it last chance. Goodwill, so it cost me like $1. So 11 bucks for a t-shirt that costs you $1 all day long. I like selling t-shirts, but clothing is such an awkward and long tail stuff. Usually a long tail that it doesn't seem to work well. So I'm real cautious. Sometimes I'll go through a binge where I'm like, ooh, clothes, and I'll find stuff, and then it doesn't sell for a while, and I'm burned out on it. And then I get more, and then they sell, and then I'm like, ooh, I can do clothes again, and then I can't. It's weird. So I think I wish I knew clothing better. One of the problems I have here in town is the type of town I'm in is like solidly middle class. And most of the stuff in Goodwill that is worth buying to resell is all, well, that price wise is all like store brand stuff. Unless you trip over something at a yard sale, Goodwill has their stuff typically priced at about where you're not going to make a bunch of money. You're not going to make anything selling it at the regular store. But if it gets over the last chance, you got a shot. But most of the stuff that makes it over the last chance isn't worth the time. So that's what that is. All right, next up. That was 11. I had one more. Oh, the tapes. The tapes. This is a fun find. I usually don't buy tapes, but found these. 2 Ozzy Osbournes. Ozzy heavy metal tapes tend to do well. I got a couple of Prince tapes. I think those will eventually sell over before not too much longer. And I got a Striper tape that I think's going to move. But this was a real neat find. I need to keep an eye on the tapes at Goodwill a little bit more. I glance through them occasionally. Usually, there's not much worth grabbing. This time, there's a couple of it. These two went for $11. So, heavy metal, harder rock. Prince probably does okay. But you got to keep your eyes open and you got to look stuff up to learn it. So that's kind of what I did with this patch. I think I may have pulled a dozen tapes out of this patch and looked some of them. I was like, okay, these were the 5 worth keeping. So that's what I did. The Striper tape was the fun find. All right, next up. Let's see what we got to go for. All right, I just grab stuff. All right. This one, Niehoff ignition parts. This is a ignition coil, new in box. I think it goes to Vets or Camaros. I'm not entirely certain. I don't think it's Camaro. Anyway, this sold for $18. Now, the problem is I messed up. And this is something that I think we all have to do. When they went to the changeover from and USPS started offering their new shipping system. You could wrap in a whole bunch of priority stuff. So priority is more expensive, and this is going to California. So I don't know how much money I'm going to make on this because shipping on this is going to be like $10-12. And I sold it for 18. Now I've been sitting on this a while. I thought this was going to be a more expensive part. I think I had even up for like $50 at one point. Finally went for 18, sold it, which is going to get out the door. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to send a ground advantage, I think, but it is small enough to where it won't fit. And it's not going to fit in the small priority flat rate box. The shape is a little wrong, but I'll figure something out to get it out as inexpensively as possible, yet honoring what I'm supposed to be shipping it for. Next up, books, magazines. Actually, $19. This is a batch. Belle Armoire jewelry magazines. And did I get these? Yes, and these are going to go Ground Advantage. Ground Advantage was one of the best things about Ground Advantage is it will pull in a lot. It really helps with magazine sales and comic books because and like larger batches of comic books because you can't ship this stuff media mail because it has advertisements in it. And so this was almost impossible to make a profit on, particularly magazines, because you had to ship them priority and not media. Well, with Ground Advantage, you can now ship this for a reasonable rate. And this went for $19. Shipping on that is not going to be too much. Particularly, now it is going to California, but I do think I'll be fine. Making some money on those. I got about a dozen of these magazines, and I split them up into different lots. I sold one lot for in the 20s. So it's specialty luxury item magazines. I think is kind of what you're looking for there. With the mags, the stuff you really want to find is the auction magazines, like Sotheby's stuff. Uh, that those are the ones that I think really do pretty well. Back issues aren't great to resell of a lot of mags, but every now and then you find something. I saw these, and I was like, "Ooh, let's jump on that." Um, some architecture magazines do okay. I think I've sold a few of those occasionally, but those are the best ones to get. Okay, next one. Let's find this one. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Cherry Ames, Camp Nurse, hardcover from 1957. This is one of those young adult kids series, sort of in the vein of Hardy Boys and that style of stories. Now, this is a hardcover with a dust jacket, not a matte cover, so it is a little bit older. Dust jacket's in okay shape. This went for $13, and actually, I'm a little surprised it did. Uh, you're gonna find these books. I won't pick them up for more than $1 unless they have the dust jacket. Now, I probably got this one for $1, but that those style of books, real like the old Hardy Boys, they really don't sell unless you got the older versions. As fun as it is to have the old bluebacks, it's the older versions with the dust jackets that are worth it. So Nancy Drews, and even sometimes I still have a batch of Nancy Drews with the dust jackets, and they're not selling. Uh, so it's one of those. I wish I had an antique booth because they're worth about $5 a piece, $3 to $5 a piece, maybe a little bit more. And sometimes it's one of those situations. I wish I had an antiques booth where I could put those in there and sell them for that much, and they'd probably move a little quickly at that. But putting them on eBay isn't always necessarily the best way to do it. All right, next up, more old books. This is a fun find. These are from the 1920s. A.C. Gilbert, which was the original manufacturer of the erector set, I believe. Gilbert Chemical Magic, Gilbert Signal Engineering, and Gilbert Magnetic Fun and Facts. So, sort of boys' science books. These three went for $20, 1950, on. And I had these. I didn't have these all that long. I like telling people, and then I have to explain to it sometimes. I like buying pre-war books for inexpensive, $1 or $2 a piece. When I say pre-war, pre-World War II, pre-1940s. My opinion, you can almost sell any, and let's say 1950, you can sell almost any pre-1950 book in good condition for $5 to $10, generally speaking, particularly pre-war. And the older, the better. These are 20s, 100 years old. Really neat finds. I wish they had more of them. And that's one of those. Typically, sometimes there's stuff in a series like this that this wasn't them, and I don't know if there's a book like this or not. But you have a series like this, and sometimes there's one book that is worth a ton of money for whatever reason. So that's what that is. All right. Finally, Bible. Imagine that. Me sold Bible. I sold a Bible. The Bible, People's Parallel Edition with the King James and Living Bible. This went for $20. This was I haven't had this one all that long either. Red letter concordance and a concordance in the back. Hardcover, which I don't usually like grabbing hardcover Bibles. Usually you want your leather covers. They last a little bit longer, a little sturdier typically, and a little bit better made. But that's why I got this one. So this follows the rules of what Bibles do I buy to flip? Old Bibles, clean Bibles, Bibles with some unique features, or study. Let's say study features, like this parallel comparison. You compare one version with the Living Bible paraphrase. Living Bible's not a version; it's a paraphrase. And so you can something along those lines. So, like this one I just showed you. Actually, I've got a guy. I wonder if he's not going to buy it. This is a Schofield Reference Bible. It's a reprint of the 1917. It's a King James, and so it's got reference stuff in the middle, red letter. Back of it has a few things here. Nope, it's just the maps. So clean Bible, and so this will probably go 15 to 20 bucks. So that was a find from last week. Let's see if I've got any other ones that I need to show you. No. I got a handful of clothes from my wife that she wanted me to get rid of one way or the other, so I need to look some of those up. Some of those I'm going to post. I'm going to particularly post this one because this was absolutely adorable. And I couldn't find anybody to give it to, but it is a pair of overalls for a toddler by Carhartt. I wish I had this one. Boys were running around with knee patches. So don't tell me that wouldn't be useful. That's actually probably a $15, $20 item because Carhartt sells. And people like putting their children in adorable things. And a pair of Carhartt overalls for a little boy will be adorable. So think along those lines. Actually, overalls in general are good buys. I have never. Every time I see a pair of overalls in good condition for for a couple bucks or cheaper, I grab them every time. And I've sold every pair of overalls I've ever grabbed. That includes like women's kind of fashiony overalls, that like the impractical stuff. But I've actually sold every pair of overalls I've ever grabbed. So, and I've gotten 4 or 5 different pairs. So, price overalls. I'm not saying go out and grab $20 pair of overalls from like if Goodwill has them overpriced. Don't do that. But I would say if you get a pair of overalls that are in good condition under $5, you may be on something. You may have something to sell there. So something to think about. All right. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me how you thought this went on YouTube, straight to YouTube rather than me using OBS Streamlabs, because I wasn't crazy about using that anyway. And if this works, I'll actually keep this up a little bit more. And y'all have a good MLK Day and Inauguration Day and College National Championship Day. And yeah, this is like 8 great American days rolled into one. That's fun too. Be good.